Hey everyone, we're back with week 2 of our podcast. My name's Jesse Van Grunbaum, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, Sydney McCann. Sydney, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. So on this week, we're going to talk about how easy it is getting stuck with checking boxes instead of thinking about the person we're caring for. So we're going to talk about how do we make sure we're really connecting with the person that we're serving. Sydney, what's your experience as a manager and guiding your support team with making sure they're just not checking boxes, but they're really getting down to the details of connecting with the person served?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important aspects of our training, actually. We have such a long training period, partly for bonding, so the support worker can bond with the person served. And I find encouraging people to explore outside of their comfort zones, do things they haven't really done, and find that thing that allows them to connect. Mm-hmm. So I've had support workers learn that taking the kids skating is like the number one. That's how they've been able to build a bond. The child has been so incredibly joyful during those times and allows them to just connect. And once that connection is built, finding things that bring joy together is just so much easier. So really that bonding period is essential.
Absolutely. And in the sector that we're in, there's so much terminology to remember, and terms and language is always changing. What has been your experience with educating staff on words they can use, they can't use, and just even the right mindset? Because some people are new to the type of care that we deliver, and other people have been doing it forever and somewhat stuck in their ways. So on both sides of the spectrum, sometimes there's like an education piece or an awareness piece of maybe do's and don'ts, or just some subtle little hints of, what best practice looks like.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the biggest aspect of this is just leading by example. Mm-hmm. We have such a solid foundation of our teams at GreenTree. Yeah. And when a new person is being brought in, they're being brought into the atmosphere, the culture, and the language being used. So something as simple as we don't say diapers, we're saying briefs, That we have an 18-year-old person served, we're not going to go say, they need their diaper changed. It's going to be a brief change. It's just much more appropriate and respectful for them.
Level of dignity of care.
Level of dignity, exactly.
For sure.
So doing things like that and just having people coming in from the outside witness that, and you can see them adopting it.
Yeah.
And I find it really wonderful because sometimes they'll point it out and be like, oh, I've never thought of that before. That's not dignified to say it that way.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see a shift happening over time.
Yeah, kind of like a collective perspective, if you will. Mm-hmm. Kind of, it's continually growing, continually changing, adapting. Yeah. That awareness piece, right?
Exactly. And when you're looking at our person served with dignity and respect all the time, I find the language just follows.
Yeah.
If someone's having a big feelings moment, and maybe the term usually used is tantrum, over time as you start to look at it differently, and it just becomes emotional dysregulation or a big feeling moment, and the perspective shift of how you see the child, and then the language just follows with it.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the golden rule, doing things with and not for people that we're caring for. We typically care for some very complex medical individuals, and that's even harder to accommodate when we're trying to do things with instead of for. Mm-hmm. But I can maybe put an example of personal choices, just the day-to-day little things. Do you have any examples of what you see in the home where you manage?
I've seen it so much in my house, and the resource that I'm managing right now is how much you have to prioritize and be patient and take your time. Mm-hmm. Something as simple as getting dressed in the morning. It's so much easier to just grab the clothes out of the closet, put them on the person served, and head out the door. That's not fulfilling for them. It's not fulfilling for us. Yeah. We need to take that step back and be patient and let the child have a choice. So in our house, one of the biggest ways we do this is with communication cards. Something as simple as having a communication card that says shirt versus long sleeve shirt, or hoodie, or shorts versus pants, and allowing the child to choose what they want to wear that day. Yeah, holding up the clothes so you can choose a blue shirt versus a red shirt, whatever it wants to be. And that's kind of how it goes throughout the day. Because exactly as you said, with not for, the idea is we're working with them, not for them.
Yeah.
And part of that's building independence.
Sometimes I can imagine it'd be difficult for teams when there's so many things they need to accomplish, so many things they need to get done. But at the same time, we need to leave space for allowing the people that we're caring for to have that room for choice and to have that time to make the choices that matter most to them. So what words of wisdom would you share with our listeners and with our team members, or even just for your current team itself, of not just checking off boxes that everything's done, but making sure throughout the day in supporting someone that they were able to take the time to support someone with making choices for themselves?
Yeah, I think there's two keys there. The first is just simply patience, right? It
huge.
takes longer to allow someone to use communication forms to communicate to you, right, than it is to just choose for them. The second one is changing your priorities, right? When you're working with somebody else, the priorities are not your priorities. It needs to be theirs. So something like what hairstyle you want that day might not be something you find important, but it might be the most important decision that person served is making today.
Yeah.
So understanding that it's not about you, it's not about what you think is important, it's about what they think is important and how they are able to express themselves to the world around them, how they're able to communicate in the forms that they're able to, and that's the only form of autonomy that they're going to have, is that you allow that to happen.
Absolutely. And what about sometimes when there's communication challenges? We really have to think outside the box.
Yes, definitely.
And really our team members need to know the person they're caring for so well so they can read those subtle little cues to pick up on the differences of what one person might choose from another. But that comes with time.
Yes.
Right? So how is that embedded in the programs? Does that come from training? Does that come from, staff communication? How do staff really get to know what someone's all about?
I think time is the biggest,
Yeah.
of course. And I mentioned a few moments ago about bonding, how important it is to bond with the child. And that's what bonding is. It's learning how that child is expressing themselves, what forms of the communication they're using.
Yeah.
Something as simple as facial expressions. Somebody might have...
That's a big one.
A huge, yes. Facial cues are a huge form of communication.
Yeah.
And somebody might have 3 different grimaces that they do. And all those grimaces can mean something different. And the only way to learn that is to get to know them.
Yeah.
And to have senior staff members show you, right? You can have somebody say, hey, have you noticed this facial expression? Do you see how it's linked to this behavior or this want?
Yeah.
And it just gets passed on down the line. And of course we have our documentation, we have communication passports. Yeah. And I think that's one of the best things that GreenTree has done, is created a document that is just every way that a child tries to communicate with us, so it can be recorded and passed down through support workers.
Awesome. That's so good. So it sounds like there's the communication passports that are a wonderful piece of documentation, and there's this constant feedback loop between the manager, the supervisor, and even the team members that really just help that we're always working towards supporting with and not for. Awesome. What about, we often describe we're providing a home away from home.
Yep.
We describe the places that we work is someone else's home, and we're a guest in that location. And we really pride ourselves on making sure it does feel like a home. It's not a clinical practice. And typically, 1 to 2 people being served at a time, depending on the location. What are the little things that we do that matter to ensure it feels like a home away from home?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, or one of the biggest ones, is just the environment itself. I can't even count the amount of times that I've had new people come into the home and go, oh, this is a house. Like, this is a home. It's not in an industrial, hospital, sterile type looking environment. Yeah. And that's exactly what the goal is, right? We have the kids' artwork up on the fridge. We have decorations hanging from the ceilings, photos of the kids and their families on every wall. Everything that you could imagine in a normal home, we have as well. And I think that makes one of the biggest differences. So
specifically, the program that you're currently running, the respite program, providing a home away from home, will support different people with different needs, different preferences. What do you guys do that's a little different for preparing when someone arrives?
Yeah, with the respite home, it's definitely a little bit different because people are coming and going. So for context, we have 2 bedrooms, but only ever one child in the house at a time. So the deal is when one child leaves, the bedroom is almost packed up, and then everything comes out for the next child. They have their own bed sheets, their own pillowcases.
Even pictures on the wall. I've seen you guys remove pictures.
Yes.
Yeah, which
so
is
we
amazing.
have their decor bins. All of their decor comes out. So say somebody's really into Bob's Burgers, we have Bob's Burgers paintings on the wall for them.
That's incredible.
Photos with their family, anything they like. It's all themed to them.
Yeah.
We even have door signs with their names that come on and off the door. So
That's
you can know
fantastic.
who's in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything we can do to make it feel like their home, because it is their home when they're there.
So these are special little touches that we can do to ideally make someone that we're caring for feel comfortable and at ease, and hopefully have a relaxing stay and receive care that they're comfortable with. Let's take a little shift away from that and talk about attitudes within the home. Because as we preach, we are a guest in someone's home away from home. As the support team, what about sometimes people forget that and they bring drama in the workplace, or they'll bring, something that previously happened to them earlier that day. What does that look like? What does that feel like sometimes when we have to kind of remind people to check the baggage at the door?
Yeah, it definitely comes up. That is for sure.
Yeah.
I would say one of the biggest examples of that, unfortunately, is staff conflict. And that's just inevitable in any workplace, especially when you're having long shifts in place, the 2 of you, right? So it comes up. People are experiencing conflict. And when you're sitting down to address that conflict with them and work through it, that's one of the first things you say is, do you think bringing this conflict into the home is what the child needs?
Yeah.
Do they want to be able to feel that tension when they want to relax on the couch? Do they want to feel that the people caring for them are mad at each other when they're trying to just eat dinner? And that comes up immediately. And I find even just the acknowledgement that, I'm having a negative effect on my
that
person
mindset
served.
will shift and will support everyone to understand that, I need to reset. I need to regroup, because when we realize that we're impacting a place where someone's receiving care and we're the guest, they're not the guest. It definitely kind of helps reset that button a little bit. And, I think that's what I've noticed about so many of the team members is that we can always be caught off guard when we're given some suggestions for how we can do things differently. But the self-reflection that our team does is amazing. Yeah. They almost always come back and going, you're absolutely right. I shouldn't have brought that into the workplace, which is huge. The commitment to the people we're serving is first and foremost, and that's how they show it. Through their own self-reflection too, which is pretty phenomenal. But those things matter, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And having that self-awareness, having those conversations like you're saying, the ability for our support workers to have that self-awareness of the impact they are truly having is extraordinary. And I think it just points to the level of empathy and understanding that our teams have for our person served.
Absolutely. So ultimately, some of the things I think about a sign of success is building more and more independence, autonomy, a voice for preferences within the home. And part of that is really connecting with your team, connecting with your care providers. And I think a lot of the times when we're looking at that, our teams are so focused on checking boxes.
Yeah.
And we're asking them saying, hey, we know you need to do the administration, but you also need to make sure you're having the strong bond, the strong connection with people that we're serving. And, I'm happy and proud to say that I see that across the teams. Is there anything else you think that we could do differently, or we could focus on, or maybe even just share with our teams out there in regards to, some of the administration? We're trying to streamline it, or we're trying to make it easier so that way we can get back to one-to-one care and those connections and those times. Is there any suggestions you would have that maybe we could change or do better?
I don't know if, do better is the correct term, but maybe just continue working on that streamlining process.
Yeah.
We've been switching a lot of our documentation from physical handwritten copies to an online form. And as that's continuing, I think it's just getting faster and faster. So just continuing that process, continuing moving everything to more of an online document that can be easily completed is going to make it easier.
Yeah, that's been huge for being able to support from an administrative lens to ask the teams the right questions of how did you involve the person you were caring for in making that choice?
Yeah.
Keeping our teams accountable. And we all know that. It's not just about monitoring or watching, but I think we do a good job of saying, how can we help? How can we make this easier or more efficient? Because at the end of the day, we all want to get back to just supporting people.
Yeah. 100%.
Less paperwork is a win for everyone.
Yes, it
Absolutely.
definitely is. And I think that mindset carries through all of the houses. I know very well that it's encouraged, the kids come first.
Yeah.
The kids before documentation always.
Yeah.
Obviously it needs to get done. There's standards we got to follow. But if the child really wants to go outside right then, your documentation can wait 20 minutes until you get back to talk about what's been done in the house, that kind of thing like that.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me about this and to touch base. Super grateful for your time. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it was fun to be here.
Absolutely. Right on. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and checking out this week's podcast. Appreciate it.
Individualized care for me is knowing the person, and not just knowing their present, but also knowing their past, their medical history, their condition, if they have any behaviors, the things they like, they do not like, or how they like to spend their time, the things they like to do at school, is they are going to the school. But the bigger thing that I look at is who they are as a person and how I can learn from them and become a team so that I can provide the care they need and they also feel supported and not completely thrown away to a different person who doesn't know them.
I think at a lot of other healthcare facilities, it can be really about checking the boxes, getting things done, facilitating care rather than just living life. And I think that's what I learned with GreenTree. You're just trying to facilitate the best, most positive life for a person served and with it with them. But that's the positive moments that's going out through events and embracing the community and inclusion and diversity. And it's also those harder days. It's being that shoulder to cry on, being that hand to hold when things are hard. So I think that's how you can really connect with the person served. It's just getting to know them and being there for them. It's not so formal. It's really just connecting person to person.